Okay, good afternoon. My name is Abide Mishimoye, and I know you already know me. I took you managerial economics last week, and also took you quantitative methods. But like um, it's important for you to have a very good background in economics, all right? Because you are going to be a finance and economic development specialist. And for you to be in economic development and finance, you have to know the workings of the economy, both micro and macro. So that's why we decided to include some new courses into your outline. All right. I'm sure your academic director will be carrying you along with time, but you just need to adjust to change because this is for your future. It's very important for you to have an understanding of how the economy works as a whole. So remember the last time I said we started to talk about microeconomics and macroeconomics. So we are going to take it as a course. Instead of just taking you managerial economics, we're going to take microeconomic analysis as a course, while next semester we're going to take macroeconomics. So let's start with microeconomics. Like I explained, macroeconomics deals with just individual units within an economy, not in a broad sense of it. So, what are you going to learn in this course? The objective of this chapter is to introduce you to microeconomics as a subject of study. All right. Since microeconomics is a branch of economics, a broader knowledge of what economics is will be very helpful in understanding the concept of microeconomics. So it's important for you to understand the basics and the foundations of what economics is all about. I remember the last time someone was asking me in class, what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And I explained that we are going to see that in broad sense. Another student asked me, what is the difference between normative science and positive science? We are also going to see that from this sense. If you have any questions, send me an email as regards this topic and your ideas or what you think. I will definitely respond to you. So let's get started. So, what is the definition of economics? Well, I know there are a lot of definitions, all right, of what economics is, but let me share with you some definitions that would help you in becoming a better manager, that will help you in becoming an economist, that will help you in seeing microeconomics from the right perspective. Because we have microeconomics, we also have macroeconomics. So according to Dwivedi, economics is essentially the study of how people, individuals, and society allocate their limited resources. All right. You definitely know that resources are limited. I know you know that resources are limited. So economics deals with limited resources. You can see me underlining it for you. It deals with how to allocate uh, uh, your limited resources based on what you want. All right. For example, I know you've heard of scale of preference. If you need to buy 10 things at the same time and your income is maybe $10, definitely you know that you cannot buy the 10 things because you have a constraint. And your constraint is that your income is not enough. So you have to find a way to pick the most important item at that particular time and trading off others and letting the others go. All right. So it's important that you are able to have a scale of preferences. Okay, this is important, this is not important, so that you are able to maximize whatever you have with you. Another definition says an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of all nations. Adam Smith is regarded to as the father of economics. All right. So if you are able to study the wealth of nations, when you say wealth, wealth majorly of nations has to do with natural resources. It has to do with the resources of your nation. of your nation. So if you look at different nations, they have different natural resources. And it is based on that natural resources that they are able to uh, derive, I mean, derive different revenues to run the economy of that, to run the affairs of the nation. For example, in Nigeria, we have oil and we have different agricultural products. All right. And in different countries, so you have oil. That is their, you regard those as natural resources. You can also call it wealth. All right. So that is the definition of, that's the definition of Adam Smith. So let's go to our next slide. So Alfred Marshall, who is also an economist, says it is the study of mankind in ordinary business of life. It is the study of mankind in ordinary business of life. When you say ordinary business of life, what are we referring to? We are referring to how when individuals, how they acquire and use the resources, all right? And when you talk about resources, we are talking about land, labor, capital, knowledge, and time. You refer to these as factors of production. Formally, okay, this is a recent textbook, 2016. I've attached it in your in the Google Drive at the reference at the back of this presentation, so you can find it there. So read the whole of chapter 1. Finally, before now, the factors of production usually is labor, land, capital, okay, and entrepreneurship. That's what you have, all right. But now, because economists have found out that these factors might experience law of diminishing marginal returns, therefore they had to introduce knowledge into the production function. Knowledge does not decline. Knowledge is progressive. It continues to increase over time. The more you grow, the more you are willing to know. All right. So, and that is why knowledge is one of the factors of production that does not decline. It does not diminish, because no matter what happens, your knowledge will keep growing as you grow. In fact, you have what we call knowledge economy. Knowledge economy is that economy that its foundation, its structure is based on knowledge, or you can say it's based on intellectual capital. All right, intellectual capital has to do with the development of the minds of people, how developed people are in their minds. So this is one of the most common definitions of economics, and is defined as it is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. I know you should have an understanding. The key point in this definition is economics is a science. And I know in one of the classes I already mentioned what it means. What does science mean? Science is a method that is used to explain a phenomena, all right? It's just a way of predicting events, all right? Phenomena also means events. So another thing you should look at is human behavior. Human behavior, you should also look at this. It's very, very, very crucial, okay? The reason is because without humans, you wouldn't have any economy that is running, all right? If your country is empty, there's nothing that would happen in that country. So the whole essence of why we do what we do, as economists, either as sociologists, either as a scientist, either as a pharmacist, whatever profession that you're in, the essence of that is to ensure that humans derive maximum benefits, all right? Or humans are able to progress, all right? You can call it the advancement of humanity, all right? Another point you should look at is ends and scarce means. Human wants are insatiable. It means that today, if you, let's say tomorrow, you finish your master's program, I am so certain that after your master's program, you will want to go for your for your PhD. And after your PhD, you want to be a professor. After being a professor, you might want to be a consultant. After being a consultant, you might want to work in the United Nations. After working in the United Nations, you might want to work with the government. So we keep wanting more. All right. That does not mean that that is bad. All right. If you are ambitious or you want to become a better person, it doesn't mean that it is bad. In fact, you have to be ambitious if you are human. So it's also good, but being doing it in excess, that is what that leads to greed. That leads to the destruction of humanity. Anything that is in excess leads to the destruction along the line. So, which have alternative uses, all right. So those are the definitions, few definitions that you have. But in summary, economics majorly has to do with the allocation of your resources, all right? Allocation of your scarce resources, all right, in order to ensure that you meet your needs. Resources are scarce, so you have to use whatever you need to use to be able to maximize or optimize your gains. We are going to see that as time goes on. So you will see, let me clean this. So let's move ahead. So what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And remember the last time a student was asking me, what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? Microeconomics deals with just a sect within the society, all right? Just a segment. While macroeconomics deals with the economy at large. We're going to see that now. Economics as a social science studies economic behavior of people and economic problems of the society. Why is economics referred to as a social science? Because social simply means the interaction that we have. The interaction you and I that we are going to have, we are social beings. We have to interact with each other. What science, like I explained to you, is a method of predicting events and phenomena. So if you bring the two together, it simply means that social science has to do with methods of predicting human behavior, of predicting the consumption pattern of humans, all right, or of predicting the production pattern of producers, all right, because you have consumers and you have producers and you also have factors of production, determinants of factors of production, all right. So majorly, economics as a social science studies human economic behavior of people and economic problems of the society. So as an economist, one of your functions is to be able to find out what is the problem of my society. The reason why you're an economist or any other profession you are in is to be able to solve the problems in your society. All right? See, I'm going to underline this because it's very important. And the problems of the society, all right? You have to take the problems of your society, you have to take it personal. That personal simply means you have to be willing to prefer solutions to it. As an economist or as a finance expert, you have to be willing to provide solutions to problems. And how do you do that? You do that. One of the means you do that, you do that by the scientific method. All right, you do that by analyzing what is the problem, come up with your hypothesis, and after your hypothesis, what are the methods you want to use to test your hypothesis? What are the results? If the results are good, then you dish it out. That means you have a theory. You dish it out for the world. If it is not good or your results are biased, you go back to your hypothesis or you go back to your model to find out what the problem is. Now, economic behavior is economizing behavior, all right? The goal is to maximize or optimize the gains from the use of one's limited resources. Like I mentioned, your resources are limited, but the most important is for you to maximize your resources. For you to maximize your resources. For you to maximize your resources. For example, if you find out, if you look at nations around the world at large, and you get to find out why they have a lot of problems, is because they do not know how to maximize the use of their resources to get the best out of it. So that's why you have a lot of corruption within government. You have a lot of you have a lot of financial or resource mismanagement. You have a lot of resource decline or deterioration of resources because they don't know how to maximize. They don't know how to manage their resources properly. So as an economist, if you become a minister tomorrow, or you become an educator, or you become an academician, or you become something, a very big figure in your society, one of the things you must look out for, you must look out for how to maximize, always maximize your resources to its highest benefit. You must look at that. That is a very, very important, that's a very, very important thing for you to do. Okay, so let's move to our next. So let's see. So microeconomics studies how individuals make their choices, how individuals make their choice. So like I explained, micro means the English definition of micro, it means small, means how you are able to individuals make choices based on constraint, based on there's usually a budget or a constraint. All right, we look at the budget line and indifference curve, we are going to treat that as time goes on. We are going to see that always you're going to have a constraint that you're going to be faced with. So every time you face a constraint, it is your responsibility and your duty to break down, to break down, to be able to find out how to maximize your resources. So microeconomics is the study of decision-making behavior at the micro individual level. I hope it is clear. I hope it is very clear. So what we did before this is we looked at the concept of economics, all right? What is it? What is economics? We looked at the background of economics. It is the study into the, it has to do with the wealth of nations, inquiry on the wealth of nations. It also has to do with this social science that studies human behavior, the relationship with entities, cosmos, which have alternative uses. We also said human wants are unlimited, all right? So you have to draw up a scale of preference for yourself so as to be able to maximize your resources. In following that, we distinguish between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics majorly has to do with a smaller portion within the society, while macroeconomics deals with a whole. Okay, so on the other hand, macroeconomics studies the workings and the performance of the economy as a whole. It covers topics such as national income, aggregate savings and investment, aggregate consumption. What does aggregate mean? Aggregate means total savings and investment, total consumption, total employment, general price level, general employment level, and so on. Okay, so that is macro. So macro individual, macro the whole economy at large. You're talking about GDP also. So what is the scope of microeconomics? All right, we also have the scope of macroeconomics. All right, what is this scope of microeconomics? The scope of microeconomics has to do with consumer behavior, producer behavior. I told you last time, I said, if you're going to be a successful individual or if you're going to be a successful nation, we use Somalia as a case study, they have to find out how they can produce goods and services and export it to the rest of the world. It's a very, very important task for them to do if they're going to be later successful. All right. So, what does the consumer behavior? What does it has to do? What does it do? If you look at the English consumer behavior, it simply means that the way you and I behave, we are consumers. We are consumers, and at the same time, we could be producers of goods and services. So, but this talks about the way you and I, the way we behave. All right. So, under the consumer behavior, we have the theories of consumer behavior. We have the theory of consumption. We have the theory of demand. Okay. Under the producer behavior, the way producers of goods and services, the way they produce, are they making excess profit? Are they making less profit? Are they monopolistic in nature? Are they monopolistically competitive in nature? We have to also look at that. So under producer behavior, we look at the theory of supply, the theory and the theory of cost. All right. I know you've heard about demand and supply, but it's important you have a solid background. Everything you are going to be doing as an individual will be based on demand and supply. All right. Because wherever you work, someone is needing your service. All right. And you are producing something, you are supplying something to the market. Someone is needing your service. Someone is demanding for your service. So those are the scope of microeconomics. So in the scope of microeconomics, under the theory of demand, you know, I showed you the theory of consumer behavior, the theory of consumption, and the theory of demand. Under the theory of demand and supply, you know, supply majorly has to come from the side of the producers, while demand has to come from the side of the consumers. Right? Under the theory of demand and supply, you have a theory of price determination of the theory of price. For example, in demand, you know the law of demand. As prices goes up, what happens? Demand falls. As prices falls, what happens? Demand increases. All right. So it determines the law. It determines price. All right. But if you look at supply, the law of supply, as prices increases, what happens? Supply increases. That's why if you look at, let's see, let me draw that for you. This is demand for you. Okay. This is demand for you. So as price moves from 2 to 4, what happens? This is the direction. You have, this is quantity. This is price, okay? So you have the quantity will move from 4 to 2. So you understand that's this theory of theory of demand, all right? So you have price, quantity. So, but in the theory of supply, in the theory of supply, what are you going to have? You're going to have, where's my diagram? So in the theory of supply, what are you going to have? This is what you are going to have. Price, quantity, all right? This is the supply curve. So you're going to have price, quantity, price, quantity. So as price moves from 2 to 4 to 5, quantity also moves from 2 to 4 to 5. I hope that is clear. So that is this things you must know. They're just the normal laws of demand and supply. So that has to do with the theory of price. And let's go further. Now, under the behavior of factor owners, all right, you know the factors of production that we mentioned earlier: labor, land, capital, knowledge, and time. The behavior of factor owners, what does it lead to? It leads to the theory of distribution of factor of price determination. Okay, so the prices of the prices of factors of production will be decided as a result of a behavior of factor owners. They're going to see that as we go on. Now, if we look at the analysis of consumer demand, what are we going to be talking about? All right, we are going to be talking about, I mean, you know consumers already. You and I are consumers. So what are we going to talking about? We are going to be talking about what to consume. That's you and I, what we are going to consume, how to consume, expenditure, consumption, allocation. So how to allocate your resources, how to allocate your finances, all right, based on your limited resources, so based on your wants, what you want, because like I said, the scale of preference you're going to draw it, you want a lot of things, but you have to be able to allocate it to the things that matter the most. So how to react to the changes in the prices of goods and services. Like, you know, prices of goods and services fluctuate. Today it can be $5, tomorrow it can be $10, the price of this, the price of that. So how do you react to it? Those are the analysis of consumer demand. The theory of production and cost. This comes from the production angle. Like I told you, you have the theory of consumer demand. You also have that has to do with the supply, which is related to producers of goods and services. So for producers, the thing they are more concerned about is what to produce, how to produce, how much to produce, or you also have for whom to produce. The decisions are taken by firms based on their business objectives and availability of resources. So this is one of the things I spoke to you about in Macroeconomics, because you need to have your business need to have objectives. You need to have a goal. What is it exactly? What profit are you guys looking at? You need to have a prediction. You need to have the projection into what you guys want to really, really achieve. Okay, so analysis of market and price determination. So you have different type of market structures. What are those market structures? Perfect competitive market, large number of buyers and sellers. Monopoly market. I'm sure if you find that in your country, you're going to find out someone that is into monopoly. All right. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It has to be balanced. It's not like bad, but excesses are not good. So it has to be balanced. Monopolistic market. In a monopolistic market, large number of sellers of differentiated product exist. So you have different sellers of differentiated product. Oligopoly is like the opposite of the monopolistic market. You have small number of sellers homogeneous of differentiated product. I know those are clear. So the analysis of the factor market and income determination. So one of the things you must take note of is factor price is determined by the factor market. All right, factors of production such as labor, land, and capital. So, you know, if you work, what are you expecting? When you work, you want them to pay you your salary, right? So that is your wage rate. It could be hourly, it could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly. But I know nobody gets paid every year. Like at the end of the year, they will get paid. That would be too much. How would they feel? So land, rent. So if you live in an apartment, you pay rent here. So those are one of the factors of production, and the reward for land. So the reward for capital as a business person is that you start a business, you put the capital in business, so you begin to make you begin to make interest on your interest on your profit, interest on your capital. So if you invest maybe $10,000, you begin to get some interest rate, so you begin to get some profit for yourself, which is very important. Okay, so these three, they are very important factors of production. So one thing we must also note is that once factor prices are determined, once these are determined, guess what? One is determined, two is determined, three is determined. Once factor prices, okay? So you also have, like I mentioned, the prices of factors of production are determined. So once they are determined, what happens? Automatically, wage income is determined, rent income is determined, and interest income is determined. In the banking sector, you have what we call interest income. And interest income is the income that comes from if you lend out a loan to people they get to pay interest on it. It's referred to as interest income. Okay? So let's write on. So analysis of general equilibrium and economic welfare. It explained the equilibrium of consumers, producers, and factor owners. This explains when consumers derive the same marginal utility from each product and firms have the same marginal cost in each product. All right, so marginal utility is the additional satisfaction you get from consuming a particular product. The marginal cost is the additional cost that you incur, in producing a product. So the goal of general equilibrium or economic welfare is to ensure that people in general, consumers, you refer to as consumers, you and I are consumers of goods and services, we will also be producers, to ensure that consumers in general are satisfied, all right? They should, a larger portion, a larger percentage of them should be satisfied with whatever resources that are made available that they are consuming. All right, while in the production of goods and services, producers should also be satisfied. This can be referred to as the maximization of national production. When it comes to a situation where consumers and producers are satisfied, then it's called maximization of national production. But we know that this might not be 100% perfect, but you have nations that, in the production of goods and services, the consumers are satisfied to a larger extent, and the producers are also satisfied. So this maximization of national production is one of the ultimate study of microeconomics. Now, what is positive and normative signs? Someone asked me that question. This is the simplest explanation I can give you. Positive signs is what is, that is what is presently happening. Okay? Why the normative science is what ought to be. All right? So positive science is what is happening. You'll be able to see reality. You can be able to observe a phenomena. You can be able to observe an event. While normative science basically is concerned with what ought to be. Right? What is the right thing to do? As an economy, where is the right direction for us to go to? And that explanation was given by J&K. Now, according to Milton Friedman, the goals of positive science is a development of theory or hypothesis. What does hypothesis mean? Can anybody answer that? An hypothesis means a guess. You are guessing that unemployment impacts economic growth positively or negatively. It's a guess. You are not sure until it goes through the funnel or through the system of science to be able to find out if your prediction is true. You're only predicting, all right? That is not truistic, all right? So not truistic simply means of present, it's not, you can't tell. You don't know if it's true until you test it. That's a definition by Milton Friedman. So, what are the methodology of positive science, right? The scientific method of theorization. So, as you go on, whether in finance or in economics, or you have whatever you're going to do, like I explained to you, will be based on theory. All right. So, what are those processes you need to follow? They call some set of people positivists. All right. The positivists are those that they are objective in nature, all right? They believe that life lives by cause and effect. You can't argue with their results, all right? Because they feel it has gone through a series of scientific methods. What for positivists, whatever they cannot measure or see, they don't usually acknowledge because they can't measure it, all right? Because they can't measure it. So number one is concerned about on the scientific method of theorization. So if you want to solve a problem, one of the first things you would need to do is to observe what is the problem in the society. You first need to observe. And you have to take this approach in your everyday life. Two, you form an hypothesis. What's an hypothesis? An hypothesis means guess. So what is your guess? You can say employment impacts economic growth. How do you know? You build a model. When you are building a model, you ask, what are those elements that are into, if you want to talk about employment and economic growth, you have to ask yourself the question, a model is a simplistic representation of a real life situation. That's the definition of a model. So if you are constructing a model, you definitely need to factor in different things that makes up that particular model or the topic you are looking at. 4, you need to collect your data. 5, you need to analyze your data and test your hypothesis. 6, further observation and retesting the hypothesis. So to be sure that your study is valid in nature and your results are robust for policymakers to see your hypothesis, you have to test it over and over again. You have to dot all the I's. You have to ensure that you are not making little mistakes that can nullify your result. 7, formulation of an economic theory. So when you are done with your study and you are able to come up with a very robust decision, then you can come up with, it will lead to an economic theory. What are the applications of microeconomic theories? The microeconomic facilitates the understanding of the working of the economic system. Yes, because like I explained, if there are no people, you will not have any economy at all. So understanding how humans, consumers, you can call them consumers because as finance and economic development experts, how consumers behave on how producers also behave. So it helps us to understand how the economy works. 2, provides the basis for predicting future economic events. So you are able to predict. Why? Because you are able to understand how the economy works. 3, it provides guidelines for policy formation. Yes, because everything you do should be, as an economist or whatever profession that you find yourself, or if you are in a government position, whatever that you do should definitely should be policy inclined. Should be policy inclined. Helps in business decision making. Yes, that's very true, because when you're able to understand, and that's what companies around the world, that's what they do. Okay, they understand the way consumers behave. Once they understand the way consumers behave, what they do is they're able to come up with a product that will suit that consumer's lifestyle. Okay, provides guidance for welfare maximization. What does welfare maximization mean? Welfare maximization means that when consumers are producers, when there's a balance between the consumption and when there's a balance between production of goods and services and consumption of goods and services. So what are my review questions? Number 1, suppose time, labor, and money are the only resources that you possess as a student. How do you decide on these resources? How do you decide? 2, what is microeconomics? Is microeconomics a positive or a normative science? Give arguments for your answer. 3, what is the purpose of model building in economics? What process is generally followed in model building? So this is your assignment, okay? Just do it. By the time we speak tomorrow, we will be able to interact on your ideas about the questions that I raised. So this is the reference. So just click the link of the reference. You are going to see the textbook. You can see. All right. And I'm going to end with the quote by Nelson Mandela. He says, the purpose of education extends beyond the development of skills we need for economic success. It can contribute to nation building and reconciliation. Nation building and reconciliation. Nation building and reconciliation. So the reason why we do what we do is so that we can be a positive influence on our economy. So today is the end of the class 1 of microeconomic analysis. If you have any question whatsoever as what has been taught, you need more clarification, you need more explanation, you can send me an email. I'm going to respond to you. And like I said, You do not need to be confused about your courses. We are ensuring that you are able to get the best training in this master's program so that you can compete with the rest of the world. All right, you might want to do your PhD, and if you want to do your PhD, whether in finance or economics, for example, in economics, they're going to ask you, do you have an understanding of microeconomics? Do you have an understanding of macroeconomic analysis, theory and policies? All right, do you have an understanding of economic development? So those are the courses we have included in your syllabus. We have also included finance. You need to understand finance, the basics of finance, the foundation of finance. All right, don't be afraid of change. What you should be afraid of is being stagnant or being in a place. You should constantly grow. You should constantly seek to change so that you become a better person. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate to stop me. All right, so this is the end of our class. We will see tomorrow. Then we can take it from there. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. See you. Bye.